Okay, let's start with the Geeta Dhyana. Om. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows. The milker is the cowherd boy, Krishna. Arjuna is the calf. People of purified intellect are the drinkers. And the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita. My salutations to the Lord, who is the bestower of all. Grace makes the mute eloquent, and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so we continue in chapter 9, Yoga of the Supreme Science, Royal Science, and the Kingly Secret. And we pick up here. So the Absolute is still describing himself, herself, itself. In religious acts, this is number 16. In religious acts, I am the ritual itself, the sacrifice and the offering. I am the most potent herb and the sacred sound, mantra. I am also the pure offering, the fire into which it is offered, and he who receives it. So we had talked on Tuesday morning a little about pilgrimage experience and how the smile or the kindness or the love, and maybe as well Tuesday evening when we were taking the reading on love, the essay on love, how that kindness or the love itself is that absolute, the pure absolute. Pure absolute. And here it's a similar progression, describing itself as the purity in all of this, but also it gets broader. So in religious acts, I am the ritual itself, the sacrifice and the offering. I am the most potent herb. So he doesn't say right now, I am all of the herbs, although that's coming. There's in Greek we have this the Greek alphabet, and there's so much meaning to it. And in the ancient languages from which the modern languages are derived, the meaning wasn't lost. In current context, we lose the meaning all the time. We just have our own individual personal meanings on the words. We don't even relate to a universal meaning of them. And then we argue over what they mean. So in Greek, alpha, omega. So there's a significance in each of the letters in the alphabet, but these two are, we can say, the most significant because why? Alpha is what?
Beginning.
The beginning. And what does it come from? Because it's also pointing to that. So we say, like, the beginningless beginning. And omega is what? The end. So it's the last letter in the alphabet, and it's the end, and also it's pointing to what is after it. Mm-hmm. So where does the cycle of the tree begin and end? You see, there's a beginning of the tree, but there's that which precedes the beginning of the tree. Is it so? And where does the cycle of the tree end?
At the beginning. When the universe ends.
Yeah, which has also been discussed. And it said it's not actually ending because it continues to exist as potential.
Right.
So the beginning is pointing to what was before it. It's always so. It didn't come from nothing, so that's just pure science. And the end also is not the end. It's pointing to what is after it. Is it so?
Everything is recycled.
So here, alpha is pointing back to the beginningless beginning, and omega is pointing forward to the endless end. So in the same way, but also from alpha comes the entire alphabet. Alphabet. From alpha comes the entire alphabet. Is it so? In other words, it has to start. And omega is inclusive of the entire alphabet. It includes the entire alphabet. That's the concept of the word omega. When we look at omega, omega is also om, by the way. Which is the entirety, which is the beginning and the end, everything in between and everything before and everything after. So in a way, the Absolute here is describing himself in this way. I am all of this, but he's providing the particular as well. But at first, when he provides the particular, he, she, it. It's not he. Words fail. But is describing the particular, but the particular that's being pointed out is the summa cum laude of the particular. Right? That which is inclusive of the rest of the particular. In the same way that alpha is inclusive of the rest of it, and so is omega inclusive of the rest of it. That's it. So when he's describing, when it is describing, and how do you use it in describing that from which all of this comes? So in religious acts, I am the ritual itself. So that within which the entire act is contained. I am the sacrifice and the offering. So I am the act of offering, and I am the offering itself. Whatever's being offered. I am the most potent herb in the sacred sound, mantra. I'm also the pure offering, the fire into which it is offered, and he who receives it. So still particular, but inclusive. It's like pointing out an object, but then including the entire class of objects by doing so. So if I am the most potent herb, am I all of the herbs?
Yes.
I am also the pure offering, the fire into which it is offered, and he who offers it. I am the father and mother of the whole universe, and also its most ancient grandfather. Right? So I am the father and mother, and if you think of father and mother in the concept we would normally think of father and mother, then where did the father and mother come from? Right? In the native traditions, in the Native American traditions, there's a beautiful parallel here, because this is the same concept that absolute is being dealt with in the Native American traditions, the grandfather. The grandfather. But here, I don't know much of the native traditions, but Black Elk is here because Black Elk was so significant personally in terms of finding a relationship between these teachings and the ancient teachings of the natives, and recognizing the unity of them. And so Black Elk was the last of the storytellers of the Native Americans. The last one who was able to trace the story to when they became self-aware, when they became aware of themselves being here. And so he told the story, and it was transcribed, and in fact, it's in one of the books. Black Elk speaks, and he speaks of the hoops, and the hoops are the circles. You see, everything here is a circle. Life is a circle, right? Everything here is a circle. So he speaks of the hoops, which are the circles, and the 5 hoops, which relate to the different experiential planes and the different cycles. And then the grandfathers, and here the most ancient grandfather. So the same concept. So that from which all of this came is the most ancient grandfather. That from which you can't go further in tracing your genesis. I am the one who gives you the results of your actions. The dispenser of the karmas, the dispenser of the life experiences. So very personal also. You see what's being shared, very personal. So all these things happen to me. At some point they seem random. But then at some point we begin to say, oh my God, there's a teacher here. This universe is a teacher. That's really when we realize, I don't know, but there's something at work here that's helping me to see that I don't know.
In the native tongue, they call it the great mystery.
The great mystery. Yes. So, but here, karma, our actions bring reactions. But included in this is the intention underlying the action. So it's not a purely scientific process. It's not like throwing a ball against a wall. Because the experience we're given includes the intent in which we threw the ball against the wall. So it's very much personal, with an inner view of this entire sea and what was the intent and the motive underlying the action. And so taking this into account, this absolute is not random. Nothing's random. This absolute is the dispenser of the karma, the dispenser of the experiences that we're given. I am what is to be known. So whatever we try to know here, I am what is to be known. Because what? Because whatever's here is coming from me. I am the purifier, the Om sound, and I am the most sacred scriptures. And a beautiful commentary from Swami Satchidananda. And he's paraphrasing. He says, the secret is that I am the father and the mother of the world. So this is the secret. This is the secret, the kingly secret. I am the father and mother of the world. I am the dispenser and the grandfather. I am noble, the purifier. I am Om. I am also the 4 Vedas, Rig, Rajur, Sama, Atharva. I am your father, mother, and friend. And then he goes on and says, I am a puppy, and I am your Batman toy. Yes, whatever your toy is, yeah. I am that.
I am that.
What's that the comment in the verse?
This is paraphrasing.
Okay.
Swamiji paraphrasing. This is the beginning of his commentary. Yeah. So, no, that wasn't from the verse. But in a way it is. That's the point that he's making. He says, don't always take it literally. The spirit of the shloka is, I am everything. I am father, mother, friend, brother, sister. If you call me enemy, okay, I'm your enemy too, because I am the one who comes to you in various forms. Recently I've been giving advice to some people who've experienced some anger or confusion about things that have happened to them. And so the advice which has come has been, well, okay, if you're going to be angry, then be angry at God. We talked about that here a couple of days ago as well. Huh? It's much more productive, much more profitable. Yeah. Because then you're still thinking of God, and you're thinking of the one who actually gave you the experience that angered you. Where did it come from? Well, it could only come from one place.
Yes.
So, Peace Pilgrim used to talk about this. She talked with some friends, in particular in the early days of her pilgrimage, and it's one of the people that she had discussed this with actually is interviewed on the documentary, and he speaks of it. So she had come to a place where she talked with God about everything, and she would argue with God. And you see, if you don't understand something, who to take it up with? And that leads us out of the madness, into what the world calls madness, but out of the madness. Rig, Rajur, Sama are the primary Vedas, he says, and he quotes again, I am everything, all the elements, fire, water, air, earth. It means I am all the qualities. And then Swamiji adds, even a donkey, even a dog. All the qualities belong to God. God is the police, God is the thief. God is the police and God is the thief. It's not just the most noble qualities that belong to God. If only noble qualities are God's qualities, who created the ignoble qualities? Where did they come from? Do they have a foundation without God? It says no. God is both the good and the evil. All the qualities are God's. Even in devotional scriptures, sometimes you see it says, God in the form of lust, my salutations to you. God in the form of anger, my salutations to you. God in the form of the thief, my salutations to you. Even later in the Geeta, he says, among gamblers, I am the superb gambler. Wherever you see excellence in any field, that excellence is the manifestation of God. The less than excellent qualities are still God, but unmanifested. In the highest Vedantic understanding, God is called Triguna Rahitam, or beyond the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Everything is a combination of sattva, rajas, tamas, and they're intermixing. But God is above it all. Sattva, neutral. Rajas might be loving, tamas, hating, the opposite, like night and day. Sattva is the balance. While simultaneously expressing all these qualities, God is above the qualities, yet not affected by any of them. And then the next two, slokas 18 and 19. Lord continues, I am the goal. I uphold everything. I am the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the friend, the beginning and the end. So there's that Alpha and Omega. I am the foundation, so the substratum, the infinite treasure house, and the indestructible seed of creation. I am heat. I am the one who holds back or sends rain. I am both immortality and death. I am also what is and what is not. Pretty all-inclusive, yes? And there's not a broad brush being taken here. Well, it's very broad, but it's also filling in the detail, as it were. We so often in society in this day, we hear the term spiritual bypassing, and something like saying all are one, but then hating someone would be an example of spiritual bypassing, I suppose. Right? Saying something like this, all are one, but then not understanding, and from the place of not understanding, then still living in that place of otherness. So what's happening here is the Lord, this Absolute, is painstakingly walking us through everything about life. And not just saying, I am that, but actually helping us to see what it is, where it comes from, right? What is our relationship with it, and who am I anyway? And not just that, but how to come out of this place of suffering. What causes our suffering? What is the suffering made of? How did it happen? And how to come out of it. You see? So such love in this, isn't it? Such love. Incomprehensible, really. So it's not just saying, although it is saying, that God is all. I was reading the commentary this morning from Swami Venkatesananda on these shlokas, and he made an interesting comment. He said it's not being said that God is this or that. It's being said God is this and that.
Yeah.
So there's an all-inclusiveness to it, but detail as well. So Swamiji, some more commentary. He says, how is this possible? He says, I am immortality and I am also death. Do you see the contradiction? I am what is and also what is not. All this means that the one who is above these dualities expresses as the dualities. If God were only one-sided, there would never be anything else because it's already conditioned. Think of a soft clay. Because it's completely unconditioned, you can make it into whatever you want. Toys, pottery, plates. But if it already had a form of its own, could you make it that way? Only the formless can be made into any form. Only the nameless can be given any names. Only the unconditioned can be brought into any condition. Because of what we're dealing with, because of the way this mind works, this mind has the tendency to limit anything, right? This mind only works with names and forms and concepts are names and forms. So it only works this way. But God is beyond that, beyond this mind. All of the concepts, the names and the forms are of God or of the Absolute. So we have an idea, normally, that God is good and therefore not the bad. And we want to say this because we believe in God and we believe in God as loving, like that, something like that. And that's a childish understanding of what is that Absolute. It's very incomplete. So yes, God is the good, but if God is the good, where does the bad come from? Even in the Christian tradition, where did Lucifer come from? That's often forgotten. Who is Satan?
You never talked about that. I don't remember talking about that.
Because it seems confusing and therefore it can't be dealt with.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that part. was left out of Sunday school.
But Satan came from God, is it so? You see, everything comes from God. Even bad comes from God. And nowhere does God deny Satan and say he's no longer my son. The Buddhists have this concept, which is helpful, in fact, that when people ask, why is there this? Why is there this bad or that bad? They'd say, because there's this, there's that.
Yes.
And also in the same way, now does it mean that you approach God by being bad? No, it doesn't mean that. That's not anywhere shared in here. But it does mean that the one who is bad also has God inside them, and also can be redeemed at any moment by finding the light within and following it. Is it so?
So.
Yeah. So all of these jailhouse conversions and all that means God is in everything. God is in everything. So God is always available. And anyone can find God anywhere. But if we have a limited notion of God, then we continue to live a limited life. If we say God is here but not here, then we're denying what is.
It seems to indicate that everybody's playing a role, and it's like
It does.
the negatives helps us grow in a lot of ways because we need some kind of challenge.
Well,
If the universe is completely 100% peaceful, I think God would be bored.
in fact, the Absolute is saying here, I am playing all of the roles.
Yeah.
So if you want to look for God, you don't have to look far. Good news. So he says, that's why we say God's love is unconditional. It's not conditioned. So it all depends upon our approach. If we approach God lovingly, we get love. If we worship God as light, we get light and become enlightened. But if we say to the flame on the altar, I don't like you here, I'll put you away in the attic near the roof, will the same be blessing us? No, it will burn down your house. Because with fire, people cook and eat. With fire, they also burn and kill. God's powers are neutral, like a zero. By breaking the circle of zero, you can shape it into any letter or number you want. All the numbers and letters are broken zero. But originally, it was unbroken, beginningless, endless. That's the essence of this. That is the secret also. God is above all these things, and it is God who manifests as all of these things. There was once a Siddha, he says, an accomplished yogi, who worshipped God as a young goddess. And he would sing, "Oh, my beloved goddess, you came to me as a mother, then you came to me as a wife, and then after some time, you came to me as a child, but it's always the same you." Normally, we wouldn't say mother and wife are the same, but the accomplished ones don't see the difference between one and another. Both are God. Of course, they have different functions to perform, different roles to play according to their conceptions, but at the absolute level, it's just zero, it's neutral. By remembering this, we perceive God's names and forms, God's energy and God's expression as everything. And again, just for a moment, science has come to the same point. Everything that we call good or bad is actually made of the same. Yeah? It's the same waves underlying all of it. The same photons, the same light underlying all of it. It doesn't mean that it's meaningless, but it does mean that it doesn't have meaning independently, the things of the world. It doesn't mean that because you make the meaning in them is the thing. And then they're imbued with meaning for you. But from an absolute sense, they're inclusive of all of the meanings. and at the same time absent of them.
I heard the example yesterday of a water bottle, and if you look at the water bottle, it's a water bottle because there's water in it, so the water gives the value to the bottle. But if there's petrol in it, now the mind doesn't know exactly what to call it, or if it's crushed up and in a landfill, now it's trash. So the mind will imbue the value onto the object.
That's it.
And that was clicked in my head as a good example.
That's it. But in this case, it's not water in the container. It is the divinity itself in every container, right? The container is made of it through the lower nature, the gunas, the qualities of nature. But it's also in it.
The higher nature.
Yeah, capital I, self, capital S, is in it. God is in it. So it's a matter of how we treat the things. We were talking the other day, there's this concept in diet, for example. We have a vegetarian diet because we don't want to be cruel to the animals. Okay, that's very good, very good. But now you take your anger and such out on the veggies. Who are you being angry with? Right? So what to do? Well, what to do is to live a prayerful life.
Yeah.
To live a reverent life. To see that God is in everything. And you're not hurting God, you're hurting yourself with anger and hatred and greed and lust and all of this. You're not hurting God. Right? It's not about that. But we are hurting ourselves because of these attitudes and approaches that we take to life in this limited way. Finally, when we see what's really here, and then it's possible to be one with unconditional love and see no one as an enemy or a problem. All seeking comes to an end. Sorry, I missed this. Two school children are having a conversation. One little girl said, "If you tell me the place where God is, I'll give you this mango." The other one smiled at her and said, "I'll give you 2 mangoes if you can tell me where God is not."
There you go.
All seeking comes to an end when you experience this truth. Mere knowing of it is not enough. When they talk about the highest experience, the scriptures beautifully say where to go, what to see, what to do. Really, you don't have to do anything. Sometimes by seeking it, you miss it. God says not by doing, not by progeny, not by wealth, not by wisdom, not by education, not by scholarship, but just by renouncing everything, you experience this truth. Why? Because it's there already. You have the pendant that you treasure on the necklace you forgot you are already wearing. Now you're seeking it everywhere. That's because it's so valuable and you lost it and can't find it anywhere. You cry and cry. At some point you go in front of the bathroom sink to wipe away all your tears, and looking at the mirror you discover, my goodness, I've had it always. I have it now. Then you laugh at all your seeking. Look at that, I've had it all the while. A gentleman in Hong Kong once sang a beautiful song to me. And he quotes, "Where are you looking for God? In the temple, on the hilltop, in the sea, in the synagogue, in the church, or in the scriptures? Why are you looking about? Are you insane, searching for God? The very searcher is God."
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. We'll break. Comments? Anything? Comments, sharing, questions, anything? Yes, dear.
This morning I was reading this book, Now That I Come to Die, and I stopped at a paragraph that it feels kind of related to this, so I just want to share that.
Yes, dear.
And it is in the chapter of the 4 catalysts of being, that is love, compassion, joyfulness, and equanimity.
Okay.
the paragraph says, in the cycle of existence that has neither beginning nor end, even this, my enemy, has once been my father or mother and has added to my prosperity. How can I harbor malice to repay his kindness? That's it. I just found it so beautiful.
Can I harbor malice to repay his kindness? Yeah. We have a similar concept in The Little Soul in the Sun, this beautiful book that we read from time to time in this world play, when we talk about the human experience, there are three roles being played. If you look, you'll see them. Three roles being played. One is the victim. These are just roles. One is the victim, one is the perpetrator, and one is the savior. The victim is the one whose happiness is lost or stolen by something else, some other. The perpetrator is the one who steals it, and the savior is the one who plays the role of helping them to defeat the perpetrator, helping to save the victim. And it goes on. You can look at this play, and these are the three roles. And it just continues. It continues. So who's playing the roles? And by the way, good news also, the cycle, and it's a cycle, yes? We look at any of the characters. We've had this big character in our lives now in the US for a long time, Donald Trump. Big character. Big character. And look, he plays all three of the roles. Yes? Victim, always the victim. Somebody else did something. The perpetrator, yeah, how many would say? Half the country, it would seem. Yes? And the savior, does he play the role of the savior also? The other half of the country would say he's the savior. He says he's the victim. So all three.
We all do that at times.
Yeah, it's true. But it's the role. It's the role. You see the cycle in the role, the circle in the role? But it can be broken at any time. The victim can say, I'm not a victim. That's what you're speaking to here. I'm not a victim. What's the problem here?
Perception.
I've played every role. Everybody's played every role.
And you can break it with equanimity, right?
You can break it with equanimity. Finally, it's broken with love. Love, but real love, unconditional love, is only possible with understanding, with wisdom. It's only allowed in the company of wisdom. You're going to have to see that same essence everywhere, playing all of these roles. You're going to have to see God. Right? I was in a coffee shop morning before last in Tucson, after the day of going to Phoenix and Tucson and then picking up Krishna Das and coming back up. And when was that? The day before yesterday. Yeah. And the name of the coffee shop is Blessed Grounds. Blessed Grounds. And they were writing on the wall a saying from Titus. I'd never heard a saying from Titus. Titus 1:15, which is the one who sees beauty everywhere is beautiful. Something like this. And I said, the corollary to that is that one who sees God anywhere sees God everywhere. So it's possible to break the cycle. And we have to come to see. Jesus came to bring us sight. In yoga, we say to open the third eye.
So does he.
Right? That's what we say. To open the eye of wisdom, which is what we're dealing with here, is the opening of the eye of wisdom. It's the opening of the heart. The opening of real knowledge, real love. That's without condition. It's regardless of the role that someone is playing or something is playing, but seeing the sanctity underlying it and relating to the sanctity, to the divinity everywhere here. And the one who relates to this divinity everywhere here discovers the divinity everywhere. Here. Okay, so we close. All right. Page 174, final prayers. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivarnam Orai Rukneva Bandanan Mechor Mokshiyamam Ritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivarnam Orai Rukneva Bandanan Mechor Mokshiyamam Ritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Rukmeva Bandhanan Mechor Mokshiyamam Ritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Ma Kashit Dukhabhave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritangamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto Thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in Thee forever and ever. And below Satguru Shivananda Maharaj Ki Jai. And for all the saints and sages of all the traditions. Jai.